Welcome to this week's edition of OK at Work. You got Russell Berger and Sarah Sawyer from Offit Kurman. And this week we are talking about a field memo from the Wage and Hour Division regarding posting notices. So as most employers are probably familiar, on a federal and state level, there are a lot of notices that you're supposed to post in your break room or in an obvious place where employees can see them so that they're aware of the laws. And that's been kind of a challenge for employers at this point, given that a lot of employers have remote work is the main way that their employees are working right now. So, the Wage and Hour Division is giving some additional guidance to employers that they are adapting with COVID-19. So this is just one example of a way that laws are changing with the pandemic. I know that we saw with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that right baked into the law that the notice was not required to be posted and could actually be sent out via email to employees, given that a lot of employees were working remote. And so now we're getting some additional guidance on the federal laws, FLSA, some other federal laws about posting requirements. So tell us a little bit, Russell, about what we're seeing on that level.
Yeah, so I read this field guidance from the Department of Labor, and frankly, I don't know that it changes a whole lot. Essentially, what it says, and I'm shortening a 5-page memo here, is that unless you've gone to a fully remote workforce, you're still probably going to have your posters posted in an actual workplace. So it's not a substitute. Posting on an intranet, emailing it out to employees is not a substitute for posting in the workplace itself. One of the points that the guidance makes is that in many of these laws have continuous requirements. So, for example, it's not enough just to post the poster on one day and then take it down. It's got to be up perpetually so that people can reference it. And that's kind of a problem with emailing out a notice, is it's really just one time. And granted, it's in somebody's inbox, but it's not posted in the same way. So that was one of the concerns that the DOL raised. So the upshot here really is that unless you've gone to an exclusively remote workforce, you should still be putting your posters up, in the office, in whatever physical location that you have. However, I still think it makes sense to have the posters on the intranet as well, the policies on the intranet. It's okay to email them out. There's no restriction on doing those things. It's just if you want to be in compliance with the Department of Labor's guidance, you have to have the hard copy in the physical place of work as well.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point to bring up here is really what's the goal with these posters? And it really is to make sure that employees are on notice of these laws, because we see it come up often in litigation where employees arguing that they didn't meet the statute of limitations when they filed their action because they weren't aware of the law and they weren't aware of what their rights were. And so that's really something to keep in mind when you're figuring out the best way to get this information to people. And so a lot of people that maybe even have a physical location, they might have workers that are working remote that never make it into the physical location. So if they're not there to see the poster, that's definitely a good argument as well to make sure that you're sending it out or putting it on the intranet, because you don't want to leave them with that option to say, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's important for employers to understand that the goal here is not necessarily just compliance with the DOL requirement, because frankly, you're probably not going to get audited and penalized for that. I mean, it might be in conjunction with some other things if you're doing them wrong as well. But in general, you don't really have to worry about an audit of your posters. But what you do have to be worried about is, do your employees actually have notice, or can they make an argument in a lawsuit that they weren't provided adequate notice and therefore they should be entitled to greater relief, and you as an employer have greater exposure? So, I think it's a really good point, Sarah. It's just so important to make sure this information is in front of employees, whether they're in the office or they're working remotely or there's some combination of the two. I mean, you can't really go wrong by doing belt and suspenders with something like this.
Yeah, definitely good advice. And Happy New Year, Russell, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, can't wait for a full year of OK at Work.
Yeah. See you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.